Good evening and welcome to the state we're in, Connecting Points Weekly Look at Politics. I'm Carrie Saldo. More than twice as many women are running for Congress in 2018 compared to just 2 years ago. That's according to a recent report by National Public Radio. Tahirah Amatul-Wadud, a Democratic political newcomer and Springfield attorney, is among them. Amatul-Wadud is seeking election to the first U.S. Congressional District seat currently held by Richard Neal. When she joined me in our studio, I asked her why she's running now.
Now is the right time because the people of the 1st Congressional District are feeling pretty desperate. There's a large amount of our community that feels unheard, and they're eager for change. They're eager for vibrant representation. And now was the time that I knew that I could launch the Tahirah for Congress campaign and get in, roll up my sleeves, and do it.
You have long-standing connections to this community. You're a small business owner. You're an attorney here in the region. And I know that job growth is one of the things I've heard you talk about that's important to you. How would you work to incentivize job growth in the region, if elected?
Yes. One of the major barriers to job growth and development in Western Massachusetts, and particularly in the 1st Congressional District, is the lack of broadband internet in a lot of our rural communities. When segments of the population do not have availability to access the rest of the world in an easy way, that is quite a problem and a drag on the general economy and the quality of life of people. So we can move jobs into our communities, we can stop brain drain if we make sure that everybody has access to high-speed, affordable internet. On the other side, we have inner city communities who have access to the internet, but it's unaffordable, so it's cost prohibitive. You have children who don't have it in their homes, they don't have equipment to be able to jump on the internet.
I know that education is also important to you, and sometimes for those kids who are coming home, the expectation is that there's going to be some homework done online.
Right. That's right. And so what happens with the children is that they're forced to go to our public library systems, which are wonderful systems, but just imagine, so you have a high schooler coming home or a junior high schooler coming home, the standard is to do homework at the house or whatever, and they have to now introduce going to the library to do their homework. It just makes life a little harder for kids where it shouldn't be. And that in turn does impact economic growth and development, because if they're held back in any way whatsoever, it just makes it harder for them to succeed.
Absolutely. So you are a mother of 7 children,
Yes.
Is that right? 7
Yes.
children. So you know a bit about education in the region. You have kids who are in this school system. And I've also heard you talk about the importance of universal public education.
Yes.
If elected, what changes, if any, would you make to the education system?
If there's nothing else that needs to be done, we have to examine the universal option for preschool. We cannot afford to wait for the kids to get into kindergarten in order to let them learn the basics. It's just not acceptable in this day and age, the way that information is shared and given. Our children need every availability to a head start in life as they can get. And it also helps working families, because if they know that they can put their kids in a preschool, a quality preschool that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg, then they could take on jobs and do the things that they need to do in order to support their family. So I'm looking at public preschool. So we're talking about ages 3 to 5 years old, up through and including some aspect of college. We're really concerned also about suffocating student loan debt that many people are experiencing, and having some aspect of free public college could help alleviate that crisis.
Yeah, we've talked with students on our program, The State We're In, who say they're using the public education, using community college as an entry point for them into higher education, but they are meeting unanticipated costs just at that community college level. Yes. And so to hear you say that, I'm sure it might be of something that's interest to many folks out there.
It's true. And also, we have families like myself, so I'm a Gen Xer. I still have student loan debt. And I have a child who's just graduated college and another child who's attending the university. So when I look at generational student loan debt, and I see that that's just another suffocating barrier to families that we shouldn't have to experience, it's a problem that we need to address, and I'm looking at it really closely.
Another challenge that I've heard you talk about, your 6-year-old daughter had heart surgery when she was quite young, and so for you, that experience opened up the opportunity or the potential for you to be interested in single-payer health care. Why is that?
Yes. So yeah, she was born with a congenital heart defect. She's 7 years old. She has a great prognosis. And actually next week is her 7-year anniversary of that open heart surgery. And my husband and I took her up to the hospital, and we nursed her back to health. And of all the things we had to worry about, we didn't have to worry about whether we could afford it because we were fortunate enough to have a solid health plan. Not a single bill came to us. But I also know that not every family is that lucky. And some families will have to sacrifice to get their child the medical care that they need and the recovery that they need. And when we experience that, because I think of everything that happens in my life as an opportunity for me to be a little bit more compassionate, I want every family to feel like they could take care of their chronically ill child, parent, or themselves without worrying about being crushed by debt or not being able to afford available medical care. So I do support some aspect of a single-payer health plan. It's just necessary. It is a requirement. And in Massachusetts, we're a little lucky because, of course, we were the pioneers in some ways of really comprehensive health insurance.
Under Governor Romney.
Under Governor Romney. And as a family law attorney, and one of the things I do is help families reconstruct their lives after divorce or separation. And I witness how our families thrive and prosper knowing that we have healthcare options that are mandatory and that they're not worried about how they're going to pay for certain aspects of care for their children. And now we're in a climate where we're not sure if that's going to be here. And so these folks in our community are very concerned about that, and that remains a priority in my campaign.
One of the areas that I understand that you're a volunteer with is you're on the board of directors for the Mass Council on American Islamic Relations.
Yes.
And I read that you told the Berkshire Eagle last year this, quote, "Learn about your beliefs and about the beliefs of others. You will find there are more similarities than differences." How did you arrive at that belief?
So I was born into a Christian family. My parents converted to Islam when I was about 4 years old. And I have a large Christian family of cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents. And I grew up always living in a space of interfaith harmony. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I realized that I had a quite unique perspective on life and a unique sort of understanding for religious tolerance and difference. And it came to be probably with the uptick in anti-religious sentiment, not just anti-Muslim sentiment, but we had attacks on churches and synagogues. And that's when I realized that I needed to share my story and help educate people about different religions and how similar we are, particularly the Abrahamic religions. I'm Muslim. Of the three Abrahamic religions, we're the newest. And people don't know. There's a wide gap in knowledge of what people know about religion. And I have been working really hard to bridge that gap. And it's been great.
Where do you think that misunderstanding stems from, or the just anti-Muslim or anti-religious, non-Christian religious opposition stems from?
Sometimes the lack of information allows for myths and misinformation to come in and take up space. And we live in a society where we're always taught, don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics. And when we don't talk about that, then people sit back and they either spread misinformation on purpose or by mistake, and then that sticks with people. And until we make a conscious effort to learn about our own beliefs and the beliefs of others, those myths will continue to take up space, and they're dangerous because sometimes they make people afraid of folks who have no reason to be feared, and that's what we're seeing. But we're also living in a day and age where you notice that the general population is looking more so for information. They're not relying just on what they get coming across their screen. You're not seeing as much passive reception of news. And so it's a great time for us to have these conversations and clear up misinformation and miscommunication.
We're short on time, but I want to ask you quickly about your work with the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women. I know you've lobbied at the state level for women and girls quite vigorously. What's an example of something you've successfully lobbied for? I'm
so lucky. I work with, on a volunteer basis, some of the greatest team in that commission. And one of our big accomplishments last year was the Equal Pay Act, which sort of took steps to secure protections for women in the workplace regarding, different pay inequities that exist. That was very exciting, and I stand on the shoulders of giants. when I say that I was there to witness the signing of that bill into law. That was wonderful. We continue to work on a host of other measures, including paid sick leave, and other laws that try to help women develop economic stability in their places of work, because women not only deserve to be paid for just what their male counterparts deserve to be paid, but it's so important to the overall health and economic viability of our community that happens. And so once we lift women up to the positions that we deserve to be in unapologetically, the entire community stands to benefit from it.